Hello everybody, welcome back to Remembrancer Secundus, and today we're going on a special journey. The folks over at Zero Latency offered me a chance to play the new Space Marine 2 tie-in game, The Defenders of Avarax, and so I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to invite some YouTube pals to test out the VR game and see what it was like. With that in mind, I invited Aaron from Astartes Anonymous and Alex, who's also known as Quips to Nerd Online and is a brilliant painter, which made us, quite literally, the A-Team. We went over to the Box Park venue in Wembley, London, and had a really good time, and I just wanted to share with you my experience overall. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get footage of our gameplay, which is a bit of a shame because I was hoping to do a video where I had it tied in, had some funny moments, but there is some stuff that I filmed and Alex filmed with us just running around causing some mischief. Now, first of all, I must say this is a very immersive game. You're actually given a headset and a gun to hold, and just having this fairly weighty weapon with an actual, it has the underslung grenade rail, so every time you want to shoot a grenade, you pull it back and then you get to fire one. It's got some heft to it. Even though we weren't wearing any armor or anything, just being able to see each other, and you felt grounded. You felt as if you were a space marine with tons of ceramite weighing you down. Every time I did a big sprint, I felt like I was in the Astartes animation, where he's just going. But there were also bits where, we were a 3-man team and this was a 6-player game. Personally, I think 3 people is plenty. I've seen the footage of the footage I was able to get from Zero Latency with 6 people, and I honestly think it's a bit too cramped. You do have this big space to play around in, but the way the game's set up is, even though obviously you're aware in the back of your mind, this is an entire free space, and if I go to a wall, it's plotted out so that you kind of just go back and forth in this rectangular space each time. There were several times when we were playing where we would almost bump into each other because the Tyranids, because that's what you fight in the game, just swarm you and you have to kind of put your back to the wall and shoot in every direction. And we found that 3 players was enough. There are bits where you go down slopes, which was really weird because the game obviously has bits where you go up and down. And because it's a flat surface, walking on those bits made me feel not quite queasy, but you know that sensation when you're lying down and you feel like you're falling, but you're not falling, but you're safe, and you just go, oh, and that was how it felt walking on those particular bits. But other than that, the environments are stunning, the vistas are amazing. I was a bit concerned when we started and you're in a fortress monastery bit, and there's a shooting range, and I went, I hope this isn't just shooting ranges with targets. But no, it's not. There's plenty of enemy types. You get to fight Tyranid swarms, you get to fight the Tyranid warriors, and there's even a boss fight against a hive tyrant, which is amazing. There's actually a bit right at the beginning where, as you're going through, you pass a bunch of Cadian guardsmen, and they're this tall against you. And there was a bit when I was patting one on the head, and we're just going, oh, look at the cute little, oh, look at... And then you fight the hive tyrant, and you're looking up like this, going, oh god, kill it, kill it! There's quite a nice variety of weapons. The gameplay is basically just a loop of, you get guns, you shoot Tyranids, you reload. You don't have to worry too much about armor. It's more like Call of Duty, where you'll get the red kind of misty sort of thing. There is a scoreboard, and I will point out I was winning for the majority of the game, and then at one point my gun, I couldn't reload it for some reason. I kept getting into a bit where I was pressing the reload button and it wasn't reloading, and I couldn't shoot anything, and I kept dying again and again for one section on a tram. But other than that, I was winning. Ignore this scoreboard where I'm 3rd out of 3. That's fake news. I was winning and they stole all my kills. But that said, there are a variety of great guns. You obviously get the bolt rifle, you get a heavy bolter, you get a plasma incinerator. There's some really fun little weapons you can pick up from drop pod caches, and even though they're one use and then you have to chuck them away, you go back to the bolter, and the bolter never runs out of ammo, technically. There's no melee option, you just shoot everything. It's quite satisfying. The experience overall is about 30 minutes, but I honestly had a really great time just mowing down hordes of Tyranid Hordes and stuff, because it was just Moorish, it was just fun. And if you're wondering, I know this is like, oh, this is a Space Marine 2 tie-in, you play as the Ultramarines, it's on Avarax. Is there much of an overlap with the story on number 2? Not really. It's just a bunch of Ultramarines shooting Tyranids, and you have objectives. Do they contribute to the story of Space Marine 2? If it did, I don't know how, but just the moments when you were, there's actually a point we were in a lift and we figured out, well, Aaron figured out, you could pop your head through the bars and you could just see the vista in all its glory. Was absolutely amazing to be in the setting, in the world of Warhammer 40k, and look, and for as far as the eye can see, you've got the big hive spires, you've got Tyranids bombarding and flying around in the air, and the graphics weren't by any means like the best you'll ever see, but for a VR game they were exceptional. There's even one bit in the game where you go into this room and there's a thing, you have to stand in specific places and you shoot the thing, and then the whole room splits off into like a warp, like I don't even know what you would call it. You get like put adrift in space, and I was looking to my left and Alex was upside down like one of those, was it a Geiger paint? What's the guy who did the paintings? What's the guy's name? JT Thompson, yeah, his kind of labyrinthine style. Everything's twisted and there's stairways going into like upside down and to the side, and it was like that. And then you're all going, you couldn't move in that bit obviously because they have to be aware of the constraints of the room, but you shoot a thing, you move to another platform before the one you were standing on drops, and then eventually you all convene back in the middle, and that was really cool to just, it added so much flair and panache to that particular section that we were gobsmacked, and just that experience alone, even though there wasn't any enemies to fight, it was more like a puzzle section, in my opinion, was worth the price of entry. Although I didn't pay to get in, I was offered to go. Thank you, Zero Latency. Yay! So if you are wondering, is it worth going to, my suggestions would be, you're going to have about 30 minutes. It's not going to be a game that's optimal, in my opinion, to have 6 players. But again, if you have 5 friends and you want to go to any of the following venues to play the game, you can do so. It's quite a, I don't know if you'll like do repeat goes. I don't know if it's that kind of, it has that kind of variety. It's a shame there aren't extra levels. Like, it'd be really cool if you had like an Avarax level and you had the other 2 planets. What's it? Avarax, Demetrian, the other one. I don't know. But if you had like a few levels to pick from, that'd be quite cool. You could maybe book out the zone for a couple of hours and just like go through the levels. You could have like a shooting gallery mode to test your friends. But overall, it was a solid experience. I really enjoyed it, and I hope we'll get more experiences like this for Warhammer 40k. I was wondering like what other kinds of like experiences could you have, because now we've had like the Space Marine, Ultramarine, almost generic setting idea of implementing VR. What else could you do? Maybe you could have one as a Gene Stealer and a Gene Stealer cult. Maybe you could have a Votann thing. The idea that you could use this kind of technology just for world building, like you don't have to have necessarily an action game for it to be Warhammer. I would love to have like, could you imagine a VR game where you're in like a Necron tomb world and you're a Mechanicus Explorator and you're trying to figure out a way to escape the tomb world because it's come online and like the Necrons aren't active, but you have to escape. That'd be a really cool puzzle game. Even just the idea of going around to say, like, imagine if you were a custodian and you were defending the walls of the Imperial Palace. Might be a bit tricky. Or you were a librarian doing librarian training and you could use stuff to like shoot lightning or chuck things at enemies or whatever. That'd be quite fun. But as far as a VR experience goes, this was a solid experience. Thanks again to Aaron and Alex for being a part of the group. I had invited a few more people to come join, but they couldn't make it. But it was a really fun experience with the 3 of us, and honestly, I think 3 was the best amount of people to play. You and 1 mate, you'll probably have an alright time, but just having 2 friends, and then that's like enough competition to try and get the high score, which I didn't get still. But I honestly think that, at least in the, I don't know if the venues change in size. I assume they're all the same size. But for me, I don't think 6 players is optimal. I think it would be a bit too cramped. Because again, there were plenty of points where me and Alex would bump into each other, and then I'd see Alex and Aaron bumping into each other all the time, and spatial awareness can be a bit tricky, but there was lots of points where I'd be like one-handing the gun, checking my surroundings to be like, all right, Alex is over there, Aaron's there, and I'd be trying to like not get too in the weeds. There's a cool bit with like when you're fighting the Hive Tyrant, it even does like big lanes of red danger zones which you have to like evade, which was quite fun. There's flying enemies which were really annoying, but I understand like they're flying enemies, of course they're going to be annoying to shoot down, but the variety of enemies was cool, the action was cool, the variety of weapons was cool. I liked, there wasn't much aesthetic, like, as someone who likes lore, I would have liked to have seen a bit more stuff like some more candles, some more like iconography from the setting, but again, it's a VR experience. People are going to be distracted if there's too much of that around, but what was there was cool. I liked how all the Astartes had different like tiny details that changed them between each other, so they had different like loincloth sort of armor or different like fixtures of heraldry, so you could tell, oh, they're slightly different, although they kind of all look like generic Primaris Space Marines. But overall, I had a fantastic time. So if you have a weekend or even a weekday where you and a few of your friends just want to try something for a laugh for half an hour, I'd highly recommend Defenders of Avarax. It was a really good experience, it was really fun, and thank you to Zero Latency for allowing me and my friends to come and have a play and tell you folks about our experience. But either way, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope to have some more fun, quirky stuff like this for you in the future. Hopefully some more people in Warhammer spaces, whether they're game devs or tabletop people or whatever, invite me to do more of these events. I'll do more of them if they want me to, but I had a blast. So thank you very much, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.